Heyo, it's great to be back. Great to be back. I had a wonderful, I guess you can say, New Year's. Yeah, it's been 6 weeks. Where have you been, Jose? Well, I've been everywhere. And I know a few of the fans of the show are trying to find out what I'm doing. Look, my life is boring. It's just a lot of shit that I have to do. Personal shit that you don't really want to know. But maybe later on I can expose. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I feel about things. But quite a few things to talk about since last time. Uh, but first, what I noticed about myself lately, it's pretty interesting. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this, how when you get older, like around my age, let's say 32, I'm 32 years old. If you get around to be my age, you're going to start noticing something. At least for me, this is what I noticed about my age. I get to be hornier. My libido is skyrocketing. And I've been noticing a lot of guys that I like that in the past I wouldn't like. Like, they're not my type. Either because they're too old or they're over 30 or because they're too fat. But now I'm like, this guy, under the right circumstances, I can get on my knees and suck his dick because I really have that urge to do that. Although I'm trying to control that urge because I don't want to be a slut. But I'm getting older, and of course you can get wiser as you get older, but you also get hornier as you get older. And the thing about gay men, in particular gay men, is that why are we rushing through sex when we are younger? Like there's this. I'm not saying there's this pressure to have sex when you're younger, when you're a young gay man, but there's this notion that sex is so like it's like a must-have, like some sort of ritual procedure that you do as a gay man. When you go to the nightclub, you're gonna get your dick sucked, or you're gonna suck dick, or you're gonna have butt sex, and that's what your expectations are. That sex is hot when you're 20 some years old. You're virile, you have all this testosterone or estrogen, depending on your preference. And you have all these hormones, all these chemicals running through your body, all through that fat or muscle, depending, again, on your preferences. But you have all these chemicals running through your body. And so what you have is this illusion that because you're young, you're better at sex, and that you have a high libido, and when you're 30-something, you're going to get too old to be gay, right? That's the notion. And then you're not going to have butt sex as much as you imagine anymore. And you're going to settle down with a boyfriend or two. And then you're going to have a wonderful life with your boyfriend Ramon and your poodle named Sylvester. Okay? Is that how you're going to end up? No. Believe me, I had that same illusion of, wait a minute, when I'm 30 years old, I'm going to be too old to be gay. Too old to be going to the nightclubs. Too old to be going on Craigslist or Adam for Adam. And I'm just going to sit at home with my husband and just get on with my life as a married man. But it didn't turn out that way. I'm 32 now. I'm hornier than ever before. And just the other day, I was very tempted to log on Craigslist and just fuck it, get on Craigslist, find some douchebag somewhere and suck his cock and just get it over with. But I settled down. I didn't want to do it because, of course, I tried to rationalize this, and what I did, I think, yesterday, is I actually went ahead and I jerked off. And I feel, though, that it is kind of like a waste. It's a waste to jerk off. I mean, where is all that cum going besides the Kleenex? And I don't want to waste all that cum. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather have to cum with somebody, not waste my juices just with myself. You know, how selfish of me. But now I'm just like, screw it. I want to jerk off, and I'm horny. I'm horny right now as we speak. I have a giant erection right now, and I can't believe this. But it's okay though. I'm not those kinds of guys that go out into the woods and or out into the park and trying to get a little hookup. I'm not into that. I'm not into the hookups. I'm not into finding some guy and sucking his dick in the bushes. Although it might end up that way, but I don't want to. I have my dignity. Or, I don't want to end up like those Republicans that end up being butt-fucked in some airport restroom. I don't want that, but there are times that my urges, my libido, I'm beginning to have these sick, perverted fantasies that I never had before. I mean, really sick, depraved fantasies. And I don't want to go into it because I'm going to scare some of you, and you're going to probably unsubscribe and say, this guy's a freak. Of course I'm a freak. I'm a very abnormal person. I am a strange weirdo. And for some reason, there are people that want to hear me, and it's kind of weird, but there we go, right? But the thing is, gay people, gay men, I'm talking to you now. Don't worry about sex. Don't worry about what's going to happen when you're 30, because there was this kind of rule that when you're 30, you're too old, that's it, you're not as sexy. You know what? I found this 55-year-old guy with his shirt off. He was jogging down my street, and oh my God, he is a Ken doll, a Mexican Ken doll, with a nice big white chest, a huge package, and I couldn't even talk. I was all trembling when I saw this guy, when I saw this Anodis in front of my eyes, jogging down my street. I wanted to go ahead and start jogging myself. Get my fat ass into shape. But, oh man, I got sweaty, and then I was like, why am I reacting like this? It's like I'm going through puberty again, right? And believe me, my puberty wasn't that much of a big deal. I mean, what I did is I just jerked off for like 30 seconds, and boom, I came all over my, because I was in a bunk bed when I did this, I remember. I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was jerking off and playing with my dick. I was so horny, but I didn't know what horny was. I'm just a stupid kid. I'm jerking off in my bed underneath my, I think it was Bananas in Pajamas sheets that I had when I was a kid. I think they were. I don't remember. But I had this bunk bed, and my sister used to sleep on top, but she got married and moved away. And he jerked off, and I came on the other bed that was on top of me. And when you lie down in my bed, and you look up to the underneath side of the upper bed, you see this big old stain. That's me. And what happened to that bed? Oh, I give it to my nephew. Don't look under the bed. You're going to find something you don't want to see. Or maybe you do. Who knows? But, no, your libido gets to be crazier. It just, when you get older, life gets stranger. It just gets weirder and weirder, and you're going to do things that you never thought you were going to do. And I can understand why many latent homosexuals, I guess you might say, heterosexuals who thought they were heterosexuals, but they actually gay, something happens that increases your libido inside of you, and you realize that you like cock or that you like guys, and you're just horny. And then you realize that your wife or your girlfriend, whatever, or pussy doesn't really do it for you anymore. You want cock. But that never happened to me. I never liked pussy, ever. Disgusting. No offense to any heterosexuals out there, but anyway. So that's my deal. I'm getting older. I'm getting hornier. I'm going to be an old, raggedy, perverted Mexican old guy. How creepy is that? I mean, that's basically your typical old Mexican guy. Creepy and perverted. We Mexicans are so perverted. We are perverted beyond belief. And I don't mean by what that motherfucker, what's his name? Juan Pablo Galevis of The Bachelor, calling gay people perverted. Oh, yeah. Fuck that guy. So I'll talk about that later, but I'm not talking in the sense of what he tried to say, but in the sense that we're perverted. We are depraved individuals. We Mexican men, we like to fuck anything. We fuck chickens, we fuck donkeys, we fuck cows. And there's stories in my family in Mexico where my cousins, my uncles will fuck cows and donkeys and just go crazy with that shit. Ay, ay, ay. But in the end, I'm kind of curious, like, how is that? And believe me, it's not like a bunch of horny teenagers doing this. This is grown man. 40-some-year-old man doing this shit. But that's my family. That's my culture. Sex everywhere. I used to live in a Mexican neighborhood. And it was just a slum. You know, it was basically a ghetto. And you had all these little apartments close together, and you can hear what everybody else is doing in their own apartment. Like, the walls were extremely thin, too thin. You can hear all the sex, all the women having orgasms, and guys jerking off in the bathroom. Oh, see me. Oi, oi. And you can hear the wives strapping on their strap-ons to fuck the husband. This is what you wanted. Ooey, ooey, ooey. Man, you hear everything. You also, but I mean, that's one thing, right? You can hear all the sex stuff, but the worst thing that you can hear when I was a kid, and still I'm very grossed out by anything that has to do with feces, is when they. And believe me, these Mexican men, they're all construction workers. They eat a lot of calories. They eat a lot of food. They eat burritos and beans. And all that shit that they eat has to be processed. And when they go to the restroom, you can hear it. In that apartment building, in that apartment complex that we used to live. Whoa, you can hear everything that they do in that bathroom. It's disgusting. Ugh. Gross. Yeah, you can hear that all night sometimes. What is the toilet paper? Vieja, ven para acá. Memories. And of course, sometimes you hear some gunshots and couple of people getting killed. But that was my typical childhood, by the way. And sometimes I wonder why I'm all psychologically fucked up, I guess you can say. It's because of my childhood. I mean, I was surrounded by all this crazy shit around me: sex, blood, gore, violence, sex, a lot of sex, a lot of cocks around me all the time. I was raised in a very masculine household, although my mother was usually, the commander in chief. Uh, but there were a lot of men around me all the time: uncles, cousins, male cousins, and you know, got to see a lot of penises and a lot of weird penises, a lot of small penises, and mine is always the smallest. By the way, I have the smallest penis in my family. I would assume. I know my father's huge, but I am so small though. I'm like, everybody makes fun of me. It's okay. I can take it. I'm a gay guy. Who cares? I mean, like I don't need a penis anyway, right? I mean, I'm a total bottom bitch. And why should I have a penis anyway, right? I only need a little straw to pee out of. That's all I need. Okay. That's all I need. Anyway,